What it is, Brad Lea back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, I need my readers on because I want to read some of this. Dr. Anthony G. Beck is in the house. A real treat, as always. But this time, especially if you're into health and fitness, well-being, wellness, there's a lot of conflicting information out there. So this guy's a physician specializing in integrative and functional medicine with over 25 years, 30 years of experience.
On up to 30.
He's the creator of the Balance Protocol, a personalized health approach that focuses on tailoring treatments to an individual's unique biochemistry, environment, and lifestyle. And your practice involves various components, including lifestyle design, nutritional guidance, hormone balancing, immune system optimization, and of course, detoxification. You stress the importance of addressing chronic illness through preventative measures, and your philosophy includes empowering patients to understand their health and demand higher standards of care from their providers. And in addition to clinical practice, you're also the founder of Balance Protocol Institute and Helion Nutraceuticals.
Wow, that's good.
Social platforms, folks. Balance Protocol all the way down the line. Balance Protocol, at Balance Protocol. BalanceProtocol.com, HelionProducts.com. You can't miss him if you Google him. Dr. Anthony G. Beck, tied in with all kinds of names, celebrities, controversy.
A little bit.
You know, and I like a little controversy because usually that's where you'll find more truth than people are aware. Like they call these conspiracy theories, and why don't they just call them theories? Well, whenever you hear it's a conspiracy theory, that tells me look deeper, because that's why they're calling it that, because they don't want you looking at those things. So obviously I've you know, had a lot of doctors and you know, I just call them medical people on. I
call them colleagues.
I try, yeah, I can't, but I do call them medical, like, because they're not always doctors. Like when I think of a doctor, I thought, you know, like a chiropractor. If I had a chiropractor, I'd be like, well, you're not a real doctor. Yeah. When in reality, I found out chiropractors learn almost the same stuff. They just don't study the prescription.
Yeah.
The drugs. And if you look at who sponsors a lot of these, you know, studies, and it's the pharmaceutical companies.
Sure.
So if you ask me, let me ask you, do you think there's any validity in big pharma's running the world and wants to keep us all sick, and it purposely keeps us unhealthy?
No.
Shit in the food?
No, I don't.
Red dye 40?
Well, and that's, you know, it's a little question. I got a big answer.
Okay. So
big pharma is, and globally, right? So we look at this globally. And these are the new numbers, because I look at these things because numbers matter. Data. I'm a data guy. Okay. 1.6 trillion annually. The global wellness industry is 3 times that. It's over 6 trillion. And that includes complementary, alternative, and all that kind of fun stuff. So guess what? Big pharma, I'm not a fan. Do they fund all the medical schools and the endowment? Absolutely. Do they have their hands in manipulation of things? Do they control the narrative? No one's questioning that. We all know. All right. By education, I'm an ND and a DOM. So somebody say that's not a real doctor. Okay, fine. You know, podiatrists or MDs. Do you really want a podiatrist giving you nutritional information?
Is that a foot doctor?
Yeah. So they all have their place.
No, I want someone that studies it.
Correct. Well, in the medical field, they don't get that. We all know that medical schools don't have it in the curriculum. You have to go at secondary, which is why you see a lot of those influencers and people that are out there in the market now. They're MDs. You know, I don't know if you want me to name names. I'm more than happy to do so. I don't like to ad hominem attack anybody. Some. Well, you know, it's funny. The irony is, you know, his last name has the word salad in it. But he's a carnivore guy, so Dr. Saladino. I don't know him personally, but, you know, nice guy. But his niche is, you know, all, you know, animal based. Then you got people like Dr. Gundry, his whole niche is lectins are bad and all kinds of fun stuff. And they're MDs
Lectins
too.
Are plants, yeah?
Well, there's lectins and all kinds of things in plants, yeah.
And who's that guy?
Dr. Gundry.
See, I'm just getting into this. I've heard of that Saladino.
And again, I'm not
guy.
attacking. They just have a large footprint in the info space.
Yeah.
Okay. They all have their shtick. See, my shtick is I don't have a shtick. I help people find how to determine what is correct for them. My dog in the fight is to educate you on the true root causes of disease, motivate you to take solid corrective action, and inspire you to higher levels of well-being, right? See, that's my little phrase. Educate, motivate, and inspire. I'm not here to say the best human diet based upon our ancestors and, primal and stuff like that. Most people don't even know who their great-grandfather was, much less thousands of years ago. Nothing we eat now was available 1,000 years ago. So we can't base things on people we don't know, things we don't know, and from a time that isn't us. But listen, not eating poisoned food is fantastic. Anything, colors, dyes, preservatives, stuff like that, those can be issues. But at the end of the day, they aren't causative factors by themselves, right? I mean, you like a stogie from time to time, right? George Burns smoked 20 of them a day. He talked on Johnny Carson a long time ago about that. He lived to be over 100. I couldn't do it. I couldn't smoke a stogie a day. My body just can't have, but I enjoy, a smoke from time to time. But if you are really looking at big pharma from these big evil kind of a thing, I don't see it that way. They're business people just like us in their realm. They have shareholders and stockholders that they have to give money to. I do not believe they want us sick and ill. They just so happen to allow that. It's the model. But you know who's to blame for it, Brad? The consumer. We are. We're the ones who participate in the Ponzi scams known as insurance. It's just in case of shit. It's insurance. Right? It's medical care. When you have a medical problem, you need medical care. If you want health, you need health care. They're not health care. They're acute model. Okay? What I do is I teach people how they can for themselves resolve chronic conditions, things that have been around for a while. We know medicine fails that. But big pharma, 1.6 trillion. Okay, but wellness industry, supplements, retreats, spas, that whole night, that's 6 trillion.
So is that what you're looking to set straight, is the wellness? That's
part of, yes. Okay, that's the thing. People need to know that. So to answer your question, I don't believe they want us sick and well. Those are my colleagues. I think there's a lot of drugs that are fantastic, right? Prednisone, antibiotics. I mean, see, I don't demonize those. They've saved countless millions of lives. Okay, if you've let yourself go and you didn't take care of yourself as an entrepreneur or things like that, because that's that model. But they're given, if somebody else is paying the bill, you're going to get 4.6 to 7.3 minutes with that patient. Doctors, my colleagues, with MDs, I'm not one, they're shackled by, if you want reimbursement, you have to see 35, 45 patients a day. You got to carry that chart around and flap the little colored tiles at the door and go beep, 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 beep. You get one problem. And the answer is always a little piece of paper that you go and exchange for this orange bottle with a white top. And then, yes, you keep coming back.
Which is sold to you by usually a good-looking chick.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So, no, doctors don't get kickbacks. No, there's always
I hear they get kickbacks on chemotherapy. Is that true?
That I don't know. I don't know about kickback. They get incentivized for a certain amount of vaccinated patients. There's incentives and stuff, but I get out there in the space that people want to demonize it. It's not factual. Not that I'm aware of. Right?
Well, just so we don't get suppressed talking about the old...
Right, the hokey pokey?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, again, I didn't fall for the hokey pokey.
Me neither. Never had one my entire life, and neither of my 3 daughters. Not one.
And now, thankfully, the studies and the facts are coming to light, and I'm like, what'd I tell you? And everyone's like, you're not a doctor. I didn't need to be a doctor.
Right.
All I had to see is how badly they wanted me to take it.
Right. Like, you don't have a PhD in journalism, but you have a fantastic business people how to do this. So those are logical fallacies, and believe me, there's a lot more smarter people than me. Right? I call the ones that know it all. I call them IKEAs. I don't know. I know everything. Assholes. I don't know how everyone say it. A-holes. I know everything. A-holes. They're IKEAs. Right? I don't know everything. There's a lot of times I don't know. But I have a framework and a method that we can together find out. We can look together. And oftentimes we need pharmaceutical medications to correct what you've done in your neglect of your most valuable possession, and that's your body and your health and wellness state. So I don't believe in the conspiracy of them wanting to keep us sick. It just keeps us sick.
Fair enough. See, again, but I'm open-minded.
Okay.
So you might convince me that, well, that maybe there isn't, because I was thinking, well, of course they are. They're trying to keep you sick so you'll buy more of their damn medicine, which is all money driven.
Yeah.
But they don't want you to die. They just want you ill. But again, you're making sense.
No, maybe the corporate interests and stuff do. But my colleagues who wear the lab coat and stethoscope, no, they don't.
Yeah, because I was thinking, how do you get all those people out evil and in on it? Well,
they're not.
In my mind, I was like, well, they don't know.
They're healers too. They went into it. But do we get into it knowing that we're going to go through? I got 13 years of school. So the thing is we want a higher level of income and a lifestyle and a thing like that. But we want to heal people. But that's my business now, is I train other physicians, NDs, DCs, DOs, MDs, all kinds of specialties, because they're burnt out from that model, because they don't want their patients sick. But health administrators and corporate interests say you can't give that care. That doesn't fix the reimbursement model. He who pays the bills makes the rules. And it's that. But everybody keeps paying into that system as opposed to being fee for service. And stop worrying about your copay. And one of the things I do is I help people how to overcome getting, charged, and because most bankruptcies in the country are caused by healthcare expenditures.
I bet.
They are. I mean, that's statistically there last time I checked. But that's because you allowed it as a person. I'm ultimately about the individual being responsible for everything that happens in their life. You can make simple, basic decisions and change the course of everything for you. Your health, your life, your business, your wealth, everything.
Well, I want to ask about a few of those.
Yeah.
Starting with anti-aging.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know about that?
Well, quite a bit. Okay. One of my first board certifications was in anti-aging and regenerative medicine. Okay. All the way back, 2008? I used to lecture at a conference.
Botox.
Well, Botox is a great, neuromodulator. I've got it in my face. I do my own. Well, I'll be 53 here in a couple of months.
They say you have no long-term studies. How do you know what it's doing?
Okay, great. Well, there's no randomized controlled trials that parachutes work. Right?
Well, they're evident that they work.
There you go. Okay. So, yes, do people have adverse reactions? They have adverse reactions to anything. You can have adverse reactions to beets, even though they're a fantastic nitric oxide source and loaded with all kinds of minerals and great for heart health and things like that. So anti-aging is a fallacy. I don't even like the term. I don't want to anti-age. I want the quality of life, right? I mean, your health is really just, the slowest form of death that you allow.
Yeah, well, I want to look young.
Yeah, me too. Right.
I want to stay like lately I've been looking in the mirror and looking at pictures, and in some, a lot of times I'm like, oh, I look good in that picture. Lately it's like, oh, here it comes. I can start to see the age.
You can have a little neuromodulator, but you have to have proper skin care. You got to put in the time.
What about beef tallow?
It's a great lipid, but it's not everything. It's the new thing. Right? I mean, beef tallow for your skin can be fantastic, but it's not the correction for a lot of other chemistries in the skin that we have to take care of.
So how do you get to the answers?
And we're doing all kinds of stuff. Well, you have to go to a place that shows you a way to think in a certain way so you can determine for yourself. Okay. There's all kinds of stuff. I mean, I don't use beef tallow on my skin because I don't need to, but I know other people do. It can be very nutritive. People say it's loaded with A, D, E. No, it doesn't. It has very little of those in it at all. Just go to the USDA and look at the nutritional things. But see, that doesn't sell. They have to have this reason to tell you to use beef tallow. I love beef tallow. I render my own. I just did Thanksgiving. I made a big prime rib. I put myself through medical school. I was a chef for 12 years, so I love food, right? And the thing is so I trimmed up my own rib, and I saved all the fat, and I rendered it down and boiled it down with water and salt and did stuff. And it's one of the fats I use, right? But guess what? We can get into this one if you really want to bend everybody's noodles. Seed oils, we can get into that too. But let me answer these two things, because everything has its place. It's the context, right? So I have in my shtick, I say context cubed. Like if we look at real estate, we say, well, what's the value of a property? Because out here in Vegas, it's not the same in Florida. It's not the same in Texas. Same square footage. What is it? Location, location, location. Well, for us, it's context, context, context. There's layers for each person to determine if it's safe. So for you, you've got great skin. I mean, I have no problems. You know, my wife's in the room. You're a handsome man. There's no doubt about it. You're way better looking than me. You're a solid 8, 9. I'm a flexible 6. Okay. So, but the thing is you got to take care of it. And it's okay to put on things and do stuff. But at the end of the day, there's other lipids that can be beneficial too. And everybody likes to demonize stuff because that's what sells. That's what keeps people's attention. If you can put down one thing as opposed to saying, how do you determine if this is correct for me or for you or not? That's what Balanced Protocol does. It helps people use a framework to determine that. And that's it. So in anti-aging, I'm not anti-aging. I want to surrender youth, to the things of youth very gracefully, but I'm healthy. I'm extremely strong. I have dexterity. I have strong, thigh muscles and grip strength, and I can hang and I can squat. But there's unsexy things. I get 9 hours of sleep every single day.
I wish I did.
Well, you can. Well, hold on a second. You could if you truly wanted to. You don't because you don't want to.
Well, that technically, yes, you are correct. And I won't argue with that because at the end of the day, it's someone's choice. I could, I guess, do the work and figure it out. But naturally, if I go to bed at, let's say, midnight, my eyes pop open at 5:30.
Okay, that's fine.
Roughly.
And guess what? You can get up and you can go back to sleep.
I know,
you
but
don't have to go all the way through. It's cumulative.
I know, but I pop open my eyes, and then because of my mindset, I've trained it to be like enthusiastic and grateful. And so when I open my eyes, it's like, ooh, I get to do shit today. Because again, theoretically, I mean, that is a true blessing. When you wake up and realize you do have your health and you are able to get up, like an addict, go after that. So now I'm just like, I can't go back to sleep. I mean, I guess I could, but I don't want to.
And see, that's the choice. But see, when your why becomes stronger, the how you go about doing it is where it really happens. That becomes the easy part. So the problem is sleep is profound. I mean, see, I help people really master the foundational things. Sleep is one of them.
Sleep is a foundational thing, huh?
Without a doubt.
So how many hours of sleep should we be getting if we want optimal health and well-being?
Well, see, based upon my clinical experience, remember, I've got 10,000 days and over 50,000 cases, and this is what it's taught me. See what I did there? I'm not going to go and quote the literature, even though the literature is pretty replete. Okay. 8 hours is a magic number. It is the number of infinity. It's the number of wealth. It's a fantastic number. I will say, in my personal clinical opinion, in the vast majority of patients that I know, it is 8 hours. Cumulative. I get mine all in a row. Okay. Less than that, some people can do it. But if you're getting 6 hours, you're going to be drunk. Your brain is not going to function. See, people need me for what's between my ears, right? Not my physical thing. Because some people, I got to get up at 4:30 and do things that suck, so that way I can be physically fit in for the time. I love those people because they're my patients. Because I have to help them resolve all that. But it's not.
So what do you do for them? What if there's people listening right now? They're not getting enough sleep.
We have to deframe and reframe how they look at that and their value and the consequence of those actions. And I show them that. I can show them in your biomarker the consequences. I can see why you struggle with it. Right. So that's what I help them realize is I educate them. I say, here's what it does. And then we work on progressing through it. Like I say is, progress over perfection. Don't go, oh my God, I feel bad if I don't get whatever. They're getting all these wearables and, the rings and the watches and stuff and, the fancy bed mats and stuff that tell you how many hours. Great. Those are tools to get you to be accountable to see the end point of what you're doing cumulatively. So I support those quantification mechanisms initially, just so you can get sold on what it feels like and what it looks like. But you have to experience it, and you have to sacrifice certain things. You got to undo unhealthy behaviors that lead you to wanting to make that choice. It's just like, I got to go to the gym. No, say I choose to go to the gym. Okay. Oh, I got to get some sleep. No, I choose to get some sleep. Come hell or high water, I'm getting my snooze. That's it. Just like I'm going to...
Because you know the value in it?
It is absolutely incredible. I know what my brain does in the absence of it, and I won't do that anymore. I mean...
But is everybody different? Because apparently there's studies in Asian cultures that they get 4 to 6 hours sleep and they live till 100 years old.
Okay, there you go. That's the biochemical individuality. That is... the yes. So everybody is different. People say President Trump only gets 4 hours of sleep. Okay. beautiful, wonderful individual, but he looks like hell. Let's just, right? Okay. But he's doing it. That's great. McDonald's, Diet Coke, 4 hours of sleep. Okay, that's an anomaly. But where I come from, if I see horseshoes in the dirt, I'm not looking for zebras. What's the chance it's a zebra? It's horses. So don't look for the zebras. Don't try to justify what's right for you based upon living vicariously through other people. Find out what's correct for you. That's my message. That's what I tell people. Right?
So if someone's listening to this and they're like, dude, I like that methodology. What do I do? Do I take a test? Do I call you? What do I do?
There's foundational things. Your sleep-wake cycle is light-driven. Part of the field that I've been doing for 25 years is photobiomodulation. Okay, so circadian rhythm rules a lot of things. Your clock genes, your BMALs, those kind of things have influence and stuff, and they're influenced by light, not just in the eyeball, but on your skin. So you've got to get light hygiene. You've got to get your temperature in your room right. You got to get your blood sugar right. There's your electrolytes right. You got to get your bowels. There's a lot of moving parts. I wish it was just this simple thing. Doc, just tell me what I got to do.
I know that's what everybody wants.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Just like we already said, everyone's different. The only way to get to that is to know about the patient's unique case and history. That's what Balanced Protocol is designed to unravel, so you can see what's different for you and make decisions based upon that data. There's some standard things, right? Okay, if you go number 2, you got to do the paperwork. That's no one magically can just go blah, 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 okay. That's why I know you love, we talk about in your other podcast, we talk about, Yeshua or, Yahweh, however you want to say the name. I remember your podcast on that. I always asked, well,
2 different names.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, did Jesus ever wipe? He's perfect. Funny thing. It's like, did Adam have a belly button? But my point of that is that everybody has to ask the question of what is right for them. And in order to do that, that patient story has to be unfolded. And that's what I help people do. I can't answer questions for everybody specifically with any integrity without knowing more about their lifestyle, their environment, right? What do they do?
Well, use me as an example.
Okay. Well, I don't know enough about you yet.
We'll get to asking.
We will, right? Well, that's a clinical encounter that would just take more than we put everybody to sleep. We would be dropping bombs. We'd be, dropping sleep bombs.
Well, let's go to then what we were talking about in the break room, where a lot of these experts, quote unquote experts, which are just marketing guys,
they are
how they're full of shit.
Well, again, I don't ad hominem attack anybody. I stick to the facts and the claims, right? And there's a lot of that out there. There's a lot of individuals who have brought patients to tell me what they're, because I've asked them, right? There's a great book out there called Ask. Ask people what's the number one problem, and resounding my patients, clients, community members, all that kind of stuff they say is who do you believe? I don't know who to listen to. This person says I need to be plant-based. This one says I need to be animal-based. This one says I need to take this pill, potion, powder. This person says, no, you need this gadget or gizmo. Everybody's got a different thing. And I go, well, yep, that's the number one problem. I said, I don't know. I don't know enough about you. So that's the first thing is the noise and confusion of the info space. The second thing is then they're like, well, I learned these things, but then how do I differentiate that work? Why does it work for some people and it doesn't work for me? Well, you have to differentiate yourself. There has to be a systemized approach of finding out what makes you unique. It's called your biochemical individuality, genetic uniqueness. But then you have your story. You can have, I'm from North Carolina. You can probably hear a little twang in my voice, right? So I don't have a twin, but the thing is my brothers and sisters' health is not even close to what mine is, not even close. And so, but we grew up certain ways. And the thing is so you bring certain familial recipes and eatings and habits and rituals and stuff, but then other people won't have that. So where you live is going to influence where you are. People who live, like say in the Caribbean, are not going to be the same people who live in New York. Your environment, your light cycle, your circadian rhythm, the energetics, the noise and vibration of the city, the EMFs, the lifestyle, the food supply is going to be different than if you were down here. You can eat different things in different areas. Just like people say, I go to Italy and ate all the pasta and all the pizza and stuff. I had no problem. So then over here, these experts will say, oh, it's because of the glyphosate. Well, isn't that convenient? It's just that one thing, really. It wasn't that they were sleeping different in a different location, not having carers, and they're walking the streets. And
how could it be?
Right? It's not just one thing. It's context. So
but I mean, how do you know that they were walking the streets?
Well, when people are on vacation, they tend to be walking the streets or sitting by the ocean or doing something vacation behavior based. There's more to it.
Yeah, because it's funny that you bring up Italy, because I went to Italy me and my wife went with my buddy and his girl.
Okay.
And his girl was lactose intolerant.
Okay.
She eats ice cream or milk or pasta or anything, and gluten sensitive and all this crap. And apparently, according to her, here, she even takes a drink of milk. She's got issues.
Yeah.
Cheese issues.
Gotcha.
We went there. Somehow, some way, she freaking had no problems. And she couldn't believe it. And she's like, well, what is the difference? And everyone just kept telling her, well, shit's in our food. It's not in their food.
And I think that's a component of it. I think it's too minimalistic to claim it's just that one thing. It's also the environment and the lifestyle and the mindset. See, you can worry and fear, and that can make you feel bad. Your mindset and what you think has a powerful influence on you. Some people can't heal because they have excessive trauma.
I always tell people, pay attention to that. Mindset's powerful.
It's incredible. This is why we have to account for it in all science. It's called placebo effect and nocebo effect. And then if you're not, that's taking something. Then there's the expectation effect. There's a fantastic book on it by that title. What you expect. So your mind changes and influences epigenetically. And just, there's so much context to that. It's a whole nother topic. But I would humbly submit that when you're on vacation or you're in another geographic location, it's not just the source of the food. Yes, do I believe it's the difference in what's in it or not? Well, of course. Okay. There's a molecular difference in the food and the source. But it's also, look at that, who you're with. You're not worrying about who's coming on the show. What I got to do through traffic. I got to get up to do this or whatever. It's a different air. It's different light cycle. And your body's going to respond different. Take a plant and move it, and it's going to grow different places. So it's not just that. There's more to it. So what that proves is biochemical individuality, genetic uniqueness within the environment of that same person will give a different result. So what I help people do is correct their environment. Air, water, light, sound, EMF, along with food. All those matter, right? You can't just do one or the other. I mean, the air you were breathing was different. The lights you were in, different. The EMF fields you're in, different. The vibes, the laughter, the play, it's all different. So each one of those things adjusts and corrects for things, which is why certain people can do stuff. But guess what? Over in Italy, do they still have celiac? Yes. Do they still have heart disease? Yes. Cancer? Yes. So, right? It's not like... So you can't say it's just that one thing, because they still have all the major, comorbidities and stuff that we have here over there, but it's different. Not everybody over there is thin, right?
Correct.
Okay. So it can't just be reductionist down to just that one thing. There's more to it.
So people are simplifying it.
Yeah. I mean that, and that's cool and all, but it blinds you. It makes you very obtuse and dogmatic. I eat gluten. Listen, I tell people we are divinely created and built to be well. We are an amazing piece of machinery. It is. And machinery that doesn't even do it its business. I've seen so many things that just blow my mind. It is the absolute evidence of a creator, not just, cosmic goo, spark, and, we just evolve. I don't buy into that whatsoever. So because of that. And the thing is that we're designed to eat everything. In North Carolina, we call it from the hooter to the tutor. Right? Okay?
Sure.
That's right. So we eat everything. If it doesn't make you poop, throw up, intoxicate you, or give you an adverse reaction, you can eat it. Plants, animals, varied and diverse is the way to go. I eat everything. So you can't just go and say, hey, well, because we have bad food and the grains are bad and it's all got glyphosate, I'm therefore not going to eat any carbohydrates. That's preposterous. I do a lot of work with a lot of athletes, and you Google me, you can see who my people are and all the stuff that they win. And the thing is they eat carbs.
Well, do you have to test them somehow? Well,
yeah, we can determine how you functionally are metabolizing carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. That's what I do. We differentiate. That's, guess what? Some people, they need to have low carbohydrate relative to fat. They do need more fat because of what their current metabolic status is. And because if you're not feeding the way, then you're not going to age well. You're going to have oxidative stress because you're putting in the wrong fuel air mixture into the engine. So
Can Do you think it's possible to accidentally discover something that works for you?
I don't think there's any accidents. I think we go on a lot of intuitive things and we don't know it because we're not doing it consciously, but subconsciously the body knows and tells you, just like it lets you're not going around the whole day going, do I need to drink something? Am I hydrated? Do I need to go to the bathroom? And it'll let you know. So you're naturally brought to certain things. So yes, and I tell people to listen to that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I say that all the time. Listen to the body.
Yep.
The body has, like cars have dummy lights, their engine oil's low, light comes on. Your body has the same dummy lights if you're listening.
Yep.
It's funny because I'm at the gym and I don't go real heavy.
Yeah.
And, if you want to grow, you got to go heavy and you got to do this, you got to do that. Just recently, I don't know if you follow me a lot, but 90 days ago, my buddy said I couldn't get a 6-pack. And I'll show you what I looked like 90 days ago.
Yeah.
So I got a 6-pack in 90 days.
Yeah.
And all I changed was I intermittent fasted, number one, and I cut out carbs and sugars.
Sure, and that'll change. But here's what I tell people to do. That's great. Intermittent fasting, which is a weird term. Time restricted eating is what we call it in science. But
well, that's what I did.
Okay, no problem. It has its place clinically. So does keto, and so does plant-based. Or there's a method. All of them can be done. There's so much scientific literature that substantiates every one of those strategies. But what people don't do is determine how or if it works for you. You can't do it on conjecture. You can't just go on your intuition. Okay, because
results show you.
Okay, great. But you can do all kinds of results, but that doesn't tell you what the cost was on your physiology. You need to use data points. So I go, yeah, do that, but quantify. That's my other thing is Q square, M square. Qualify, quantify, measure, and monitor. We all do it in business. Right? You're not just going to look at your balance sheet. You got to look at EBITDA. There's a bunch of things we have to take a look at, right? And so each thing has its insight. So you have to have more data to make more things. That's what big data and Google, all these people are. They're just mining data, right? We go back to the Inhane study and the Framingham. There's a bunch of the famous ones out there that we're going back and looking at all these data points that they collected that they didn't assess at the time, but now we can go back at that data and come to some conclusions. And so if you're going to do that, fantastic. But people don't pay me to have a 6-pack. If you want to do that cosmetically, knock yourself out. I don't tell my patients not to do it. I have patients who are on the sauce. I don't put them on it because I don't prescribe or do any of that kind of stuff. But I go, okay, if you want to do that, then find out what the lay of the land is first. Take a look at what your status of your system's biology is. Do those things and then follow up and monitor it and see what the consequence is. If you see certain markers that are indicative of certain things going awry, you're going to know what you get. It doesn't matter if you feel good or look good. There's tons of people. I mean, hell, Keith Richards, he's still alive. He looks like hell. Willie Nelson, it looks like hell. Richard Simmons.
Willie Nelson just died.
That's right. He just passed away. Fine. Richard Simmons,
no,
right?
He got hit by a truck. He was singing on the road again.
No. Oh, stop. Did he pass away? Because no. But see, my point is this: people, how they look and feel is not the true litmus test.
That's true. Because I say all the time, just because you're ripped doesn't mean you're healthy.
Listen, there's so many of them come to me with injuries from running and doing and things like that. It's not. But I'm not going to tell people not to do those things. I'm just going to say what you got to do is understand the consequence. If you're operating in the absence of data about you specifically, then how can you know?
Well, what do you check? Your blood?
Well, it depends upon what we're going to check. Yes, people say blood work. I use blood, I use urine, I use stool, sometimes saliva. It depends upon what we're doing.
What's that kit you sent me?
Well, that's my total metabolic look at things. That is actually a blood and a urine sample collection, and of course, I sent you one for your stool sample. We need some poop because that gives us different data. Not everything is in the same terrain.
Why not saliva?
Well, because we don't need to look at that initially. In the saliva, that's when we can get our hormone metabolites. Yep. And take a look and see what your steroidal hormone cascade is doing and things like that, your mineralocorticoids and stuff. We don't need that initially because you need the foundational stuff because everything starts with, those foundational things: air, water, light, sound, EMF, and food, your lifestyle, your environment, those kind of things. Get that first.
So if I'd have taken the tests and sent them all in right now, you'd have the data we're talking about. Now, if I already been on TRT for 2 years, that data would reflect, hey.
No, it doesn't look at anything TRT. I've been teaching, because it's the same thing when it comes to anti-aging regenerative medicine. Bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is a big part of that, right? I've taught lots of it. Okay, but at the end of the day, hormones are later. They're a byproduct of all those things that I just talked about. Hormones is a big word. That's like saying automobile. Okay. You have your neurosteroids, right? All the way from cholesterol all the way through,
let me ask you this real quick. Cholesterol. Mm-hmm. I've heard your cholesterol's high, you're going to have a heart attack.
Yeah,
then I've heard
data doesn't support that exactly. And the medical community realized that they were in error.
Well, I want to know, because I got high cholesterol. Then I've heard high cholesterol is actually better for you. And people, they have what do you call it? The bias where they're looking for.
That's right. Yeah.
That bias is, I forget what it's called, but they want to find back up to what they are or believe. So like, for example, my cholesterol is a little high. Well, I believe this guy. He said it's good for you.
Yeah.
When in reality, a lot of them say it's bad for you. Well, which one is it?
And see, now you're getting to what your experience that everybody tells me. Here, my thing is I can't tell you without knowing your story. See,
but how does my story affect whether it's good or bad for me?
Okay, because
I'm a human being. I have a body.
There's no real, you got to understand the terms.
Like, is a snake bite good for some people? No.
Okay, but we use snake venom to do a lot of things, particularly in cardiovascular health.
Not right out of the snake's teeth.
Of course not. See the context?
Yeah.
So, see, I don't deal in absolutes like Sith do.
So you can't tell me if cholesterol is good or bad.
Yeah, it has no need to answer that question. That's a stacked question.
So is it good for some people and bad for others?
We all need it. It's essential. The body makes it. It's essential for a lot of things.
What about estrogen?
Same thing.
If you have high estrogen.
Well, there's no thing as estrogen. There's estrogens.
Okay, what if my estrogens are high?
Okay, but it depends which one. E1, E2, or E3 in ratio of one to the other versus a ratio to testosterone. Your story.
What about hematocrit?
Yep. H and H. There's another blood marker.
What about MCHC?
Mean corpuscle hemoglobin and stuff like that. Yeah. So your red blood cell size. There's all. Right. Here's the thing.
What about your telomeres?
Oh my God! Right. You got.
Should they be long or short?
Well, there's some really cool things about all of that. Okay. Because I really want to use this as a look how much we cover. And this is the noise and confusion. I tell people there is a way to determine for you. There are some people that have elevated total cholesterol. Their HDL and their LDL might not be where the markers, whatever. But that doesn't mean, therefore, by itself, that's a bad situation for you.
That they're unhealthy.
That's correct. They could have a great calcium score and those levels are elevated, and the docs will go. So this is why they've also kind of gotten away of the HDL triglyceride ratio, and now we're looking at ApoB. And
what about the ApoB?
Well, it is a marker that is directly correlated with those who have cardiac events. But here's the thing.
So if you have high ApoB
over time, plus stressors, plus nutrient deficiencies, plus all these other kind of things, and you smoke, and you're sedentary, yes.
But by itself means nothing.
That is, well, I would never say it means nothing. In other words, you have to interpret it as a risk factor differently. See, I deal in just what medicine does in risk factors. See, we don't deal in causes. Like, for instance, there's no cause of cancer. You can't say that sodium benzoate causes cancer or these known carcinogens cause cancer. They contribute to increased risk, okay? Because technically, let's play with it. Smoking causes cancer. You've heard the phrase.
Yeah.
Do you have cancer?
No.
Then we can't say that.
And I know people who have smoked their whole life and didn't get cancer.
Okay, that's my point. I don't know. I can't say. Your unique story reveals your environment and your lifestyle, your mindset, and then you bring in your nutritional status. We can look at these biomarkers and we can make decisions to increase or lower risk. Is
that all you're doing? Is lowering risk?
Not all I'm doing, but that's, yeah, you could.
Not all you're doing, but all a person's doing is lowering their risk.
That's it. There's scientific studies, and we were just talking about this with my wife, was that if you hug for 20 seconds versus a quick hug out the door, and you kiss for 6 seconds, the science shows a 20% reduction in risk and mortality. So if you smoke, you increase your risk. If you hug longer and kiss longer, you reduce your risk. If you get sunshine, you reduce your risk. If you laugh and you play and you have community and you have connection and you have pets and you're lowering risk. If you go out and get an earthing connection, you lower your risk. If you're hydrated, you lower your risk. So it's just all about risk. Listen, we're in Vegas, right? Vegas was not built on the backs of winners. But there's tons of people that win the jackpots, don't they? Okay, but not me. I do not gamble because I'm like Clark Griswold. Just kick me in the nuts and take my money and laugh because I don't do that, right? So it's about mitigating risk. And everybody loves to fearmonger, right? And that's the thing, because that's what sells. Sex and blood leads, right? Well, demonizing having a common enemy, cholesterol's bad. And then they'll say, don't eat any animals. That's crazy. I'm from North Carolina. I'm going to eat swine as divine. Okay?
Is it?
Oh, it is.
See, I'm going to grasp that and go back to eating bacon.
That's right. You can. But how much? And at the consequence of what for you? See, but listen, I love plants. There's no such thing as anti-nutrients. That's a made-up marketing term, okay? No one's dying from eating fruit because of fructose. Not in my clinical experience, and I've got lots of it, okay? It's a food. It's a nutrient density thing. But see, that's not a sellable shtick. Lectins, oxalates, phytates, all these anti-nutrients and
methylfolate.
Well, and that's the whole thing, right?
Motherfucker gene.
Yeah, you want to go there? But we'll come back to that. But see, that's the thing is all of it's food. It's nutrient dense. And yes, some people have a problem with certain foodstuffs. How about, and imagine if there was a clinical framework to where you could differentiate that for you and clear the noise and confusion. That's what balanced protocol is.
I was going to say, so that's
what I've done. It's the Rosetta Stone. I have no bias.
So you're not teaching people how to speak. You're just teaching them the language.
That's it. And you are a category of one. There's no one else like you. You are an individual category of one. And yes, you can apply things that have worked for other people, but your family's fate is not your fate. You can change the course of your business life, your relationship life, your health life with just simple little. It's just, like I love to shoot. I do a lot of work with the military, right? So they've taken me to some things. But if you move off just a little bit, as it exponentially goes away, your angle is going to be huge. So little changes can make huge impacts. So that's what I encourage people to do, right? But you have to have some data to look at. You got to go look down and look at what your shot grouping was. Okay, see where you're missing it. Have a spotter, somebody to help you dial things in. That's what I do. But the problem is I'm like the firstborn kid, and your parents divorced. Mine, okay, I'm the youngest, 4 brothers, 2 sisters. But I saw why they got divorced. Now I'm an adult child. And I see why this one says, well, this is why I divorced your mom. He says, this is why I divorced your dad. I see why both of them are saying why the other one was the problem. Okay? Conventional medicine, complementary, alternative, holistic, blah, 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 functional, integrative, whatever you want to call it. I see why both of them have their point of view. But I was the one who had to live it. I see what my other brothers and sisters did, and I saw how they messed up and who was actually unfaithful and who stopped appreciating the other one and why the passion was lost, because I'm doing it as an adult and seeing that, and I see why they're both crazy. So that's what balanced protocol is. We can see that. I see why they have their pluses and minuses. So what I do is I say, hey, listen, let's just do the crime scene investigation. Let me give you an after-action report and say, look at this and see how you're not mom and dad. You don't have to do it that way. You can make decisions differently, but you can't just do it by muscle testing, or a pendulum over your belly button, or looking at a $600 5 gene SNP test to you can tell you what you're deficient in, which brings you to that. The genes tell nothing of function.
You're talking about Mr. Claim to Fame, Gary Brecka.
Well, among others, there's a lot of people that got on the gene wagon. Okay. Human Genome Project didn't release their data until about 05 to 08. I've been doing genetic screening since 08. I have my original one. I'm actually doing some content pretty soon to show mine that I did in 08. So I put a ton of time into that, okay, because genes are unique to you. So see, it sounds like that vernacular, right? Category 1, all my genes. Okay, great. Well, I think you have a Ferrari, right?
Couple.
Okay, couple. Okay. I can't tell you what miles to the gallon it gets. And I can't tell you if either one of them run or not.
Factory can.
Yeah, that's right. If you put it up on the dyno and you functionally test it. Now, I'm from North Carolina. I grew up with NASCAR. and of course, monster trucks. But here's the thing. You stick me in the Richard Petty driving school in Orlando where I'm at, I'm not making one left-hand turn. I'm not going to drive that piece of equipment like somebody who's trained. So the equipment can have potential to something, but how you use it is different between people. So genes, they're not worthless. I use them to look for how potentially you might clear certain drugs or different things. They have a clinical utility, but I'm going to make this perfectly clear. Okay. Get ready for the button. Okay.
I'm ready. It's right here.
Okay. Genes, SNPs, single nucleotide polymorphisms. Okay. Those code for an enzyme of the same name, but it tells you nothing of its function, whether it's in expression or not. You can have genes, but they never express. And even if they do, to what avail? We don't have a consumer level gene. That's why there's no such thing as a gene test. You're not testing the gene.
So what about that gene test that Gary's peddling?
It's a ruse, in my particular opinion. Because, like, for instance, we talk about that mother effer gene. Everybody says, well, I have. See the possessive word? As soon as you tell somebody they have something, they own it. And it's hard to do. It's like when you give your cow a name, but then you have to harvest it one day. That's not good. Makes it hard to do. If you tell you have something, people believe it. That's the expectation effect. And so they explain all their problems, their fatigue and weakness and low energy and thyroid issues, all because of this gene. I have the MTHFR, homozygous positive on both common ones, right? But here's the thing. I have perfect methylation because I look at the functional markers of methylation, right? So MTHFR has nothing to do with folate directly. It doesn't even govern the methylation of folate. The gene...
See, I wish I had Gary here and you here and Saladino here.
That's fine. Well, Saladino didn't talk about that.
I just want to put everyone in a room. That would be a killer podcast.
Of course it would be.
Because like Gary seems convinced that is not true because of what he found. And you're convinced that it isn't, that he's not true. Okay. And I keep saying, see, doctors can't even agree. So who do you listen to?
Neither one of us. So here's what I do. I go, let's go biblically and let's go to Solomon. You know the story? They come, they say, hey, there's these two women. And they're like, hey, it's my baby. And they says, no, that's my baby. And he goes, okay, well, we're going to cut the baby in half and we're going to give you each a piece. And one goes, yep, all right. And the other one goes, no. It's not mine, it's hers. And then what Solomon do? He goes, that's the mother. Give it to her. Okay? So I don't believe me either. Go look at the data. Go look, Google it, ChatGPT, whatever you want to do. Okay? Does MTHFR gene control the methylation of folate? And then there's your answer. I'm saying it does not. Another word does. Go look for yourself. Don't believe me either. I'm just another guy too.
So, yeah, but how does a normal person go look? You act like it's easy.
We are in the information space. We have...
Yeah, but whose information comes up and how do you know that that's accurate?
Okay, well, then here's the thing. That's another great question. See, you always got context. Okay, so I grew up and my education came when it was the Dewey Decimal System. Remember card catalogs? That's how we looked up books, not whoever paid for the SEO. See, I'm learning all these things in marketing, right? So, yes, people pay to be on the first page of Google because no one's going to go to page 6. Okay? I get that. Okay? But these are simple things. Okay? Dihydrofolate reductase governs the methylation of folate. It's a different SNP, and it's not even in his panel. I'm not here to attack them, but that's not true. There's a lot of things he says, Well,
I hear a lot of doctors countering what he says.
Yeah. Well,
but then you get a guy like Dana White that says, I don't give a shit what you say. Like, I had problems, and I did what he told me, and boom, my problems went away.
There you go. That's fantastic. What a great story. Absolutely. And I'm not denying any person's story of existence. Remember, my greatest teachers have been my patients. That's how I know for me is because I've seen their lives change, right? I know what it's like. There's people just like on, Joe Rogan's podcast, right? One of my patients.
I think this Saladino guy was on the other day.
Yeah, all of them are. And I hope to be on there too, because I'm not here to say they're wrong and I'm right. I'm not saying that. I'm saying go find out for yourself. Don't believe either and look for yourself.
But people don't know how to look.
Yeah, they do. That's like saying people don't have access to IDs.
Dude, I don't know how to go find out if methylfolate dihydroxide is responsible.
Go to duckduckgo.com or whatever you like. or OpenAI or Google and type in, okay, what gene governs the methylation of folate? There you go. See what it says.
What will it say?
It'll say DHFR. It will not say MTHFR.
Well, the MTHFR is
It's a different SNP that is involved in methylation, yes, but that's a different cycle. See, there's different gears of the works. You've got the methionine cycle, right? And then you got the folate cycle, you got the BH4 cycle, you got the serine glycine cycle. The body is far more complex. But you know what governs them all? It's clock genes, circadian rhythm. There's so much more. It's like the Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Genes. Maybe I should do that.
What about microbiome?
Yeah, same thing. We know very little about the microbiome and the consequences of it. However, I don't need to know how what did we drive on a 767 works to know that I flew on one to Vegas and I'll take one back. I've never done open heart surgery. I've done autopsies, but I'm not a cardiologist. I can't repair the heart. I don't have the skill set. Okay. But I know I have a heart. You don't have to know everything. You know what I mean? The vast majority of OBGYNs have no parts down there that are. So my whole thing is, the reason I'm sharing that with you is because you don't have to know everything about something. Encourage other people to go look and find out for themselves. And genes are useful. I'm not saying they're not useful, but people want to market a simple, quick fix. Genes cannot tell you if you are deficient in anything, not in any way, shape, or form. And quite frankly, if you do have a expressing MTHFR that is lowering your efficiency to process or methylate folate, it's governed by B2, by riboflavin. All you need is about 1.6 milligrams a day, and it corrects the error. And you can get that from food. You don't need to buy a supplement at all.
What food?
You can go beef, liver, or you can go green leafy vegetables, same ones that have the folate. Isn't that amazing, the intelligence that comes along with that, right? Legumes, the things with anti-nutrients. But if you're worried but you don't have to worry about the lectins because no one eats raw beans. If you do, you can get really sick.
What kind of raw beans?
No, any legumes. it can be poisonous. Don't eat raw beans.
Like edamame?
Well, that's a soy bean, but so like any navy beans, cannellini beans, any beans, legumes, right? They're a rich source of B vitamins and all kinds of nutrients. But people say don't eat those.
Well, here's something that would back up kind of what you're saying. Like, we can eat chocolate,
yep,
but a dog eats chocolate.
It can have an issue.
They have issues. Or there's people, I can eat peanuts. And there's friends of mine, like my camera dude, if he eats a peanut, dude, he's rushing to the hospital. What makes the difference like that?
Their biochemical individuality, what the current status of their system's biology is, if they have acquired a lack of tolerance for it, that's what it is.
I just wish there was some sort of, he would love to be able to eat almonds, but he can't.
Okay.
So
I've been able to help countless patients be able to do it.
That's what I was going to ask. So like, if he went and did the balanced protocol, would he eventually be able to eat nuts?
See, here's the integrity rate. Possibly. I don't know how compliant he's going to be as a patient. See, I work for my patients.
Because let me see if I'm getting this straight. Is it because the answer is yes, if he would, but he might find out, well, now he has to stop drinking water to facilitate.
But there could be things another person might not be willing to do to get there, and that's okay. Well, then don't eat peanuts.
What about cancer?
What about it?
Well, there's a lot of people listening, and they know a lot of people, and everyone always, killer. Well, everybody always knows somebody with cancer, and I had a guy by the name of Dr. Lyons who puts people in these liquid oxygen tubs.
Yeah,
and he won't say it cures cancer because he says it doesn't. It cures hypoxia. And hypoxia is what causes cancer.
Well, that's not true either. See, that's overly simplified. So here's the thing. First of all, there's no such thing as cancer. There are cancers, plural, and they are not all the same. And now what they do is they're taking biopsies of people's cancers, then taking back to the lab and assessing them specifically and targeting specifically tailored approaches to help the body resolve it. See, nothing goes into the body that's going to just boom take care of the cancer. You still have to have the body do it. See how you still need the intelligence and the systems and the immune system and everything in the body as part of the partnership in the business?
Of course.
Okay, so a teratoma, you ever heard of teratoma? No. So that's a type of cancer that literally you can grow a tooth down in your abdomen. There'll be hair down there. Right? It's a weird cancer. It's a type of cancer. It's not going to respond the same thing as basal cell carcinoma. There are multiple cancers, so you can't treat cancer. Make sense? Okay, so words matter, but they're also clumsy tools. So when a person asks me a question, I really want to know, well, what do you mean? What's the question behind the question? So cancer is biology going awry, but you can't just say it's because of hypoxia. That's way too, that's like, back to what we were saying. You can't just say, it's the problem with the wheat because of the glyphosate. Is that a contributing thing? Is that a real issue here in the States, in other places? Yes, it is. But the person's story is far more complex than that.
Yeah.
This is why you need to treat the person, and the person is their environment, lifestyle, mindset, nutrition, their environment. Everything comes into play to make a true thing about that. A true approach to resolving something like a cancer requires a multifaceted approach, and nutrition has always got to be a part of it. But then you have all the different people. Well, you got to go keto because cancers are obligate glucose metabolizers, and the Warburg effect, and you have to starve the cancer from its main fuel source. Well, guess what? You can't get anybody to blood glucose zero. There's always going to be glucose in the body, right? So the thing is you can never starve the cancer enough that way. There are approaches that can be appropriate in certain cases for certain people that would be part of the approach, and we would use a ketogenic diet as part of other things that we're doing. So yes, see, these are all tools in the toolbox. I'm not saying any of them is the way to do it, but treat the person, not the disease, not the diagnosis, not something that doesn't really exist anyways, and realize that there's more to it than that. Because like, for instance, you don't know what their genetics are. How are they going to respond to said therapeutic agents? All drugs are cleared through different genes, cytochrome P450 system, right? 3A4, 2D6, there's so many, but no one looks at those. Well, they do now, but I do. But my point is see, there's more to the story. But then those certain genes that code for an enzyme, that enzyme still needs the nutrients for it to perform. It's governed by various vitamins, minerals, amino acids, or fatty acids. Those are the four horsemen. Everything boils down to those. Vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, lowest common denominator. That's it. Those nutrients. And you can get them from different places. And so those have to be assessed and functionally challenged to find out that status for that person for whatever reason they got there, to have a running chance to have their body's intelligence allow them to be able to go after that particular cancer, and not with just all natural either. Listen, there are drugs that save lives. They come at a consequence, but oftentimes when they do the poison, cut, and burn in the oncological world, it's because they're treating that cancer. They're not treating the whole person. One of my sisters was married to a radiation oncologist. He did not. Of course, we had differences of opinion. Okay, but the point is that you always need to nourish someone. You have to do it. I mean, the thing is there's so much more to it. Any healthy person. That's the same with anything, whether it's diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease. It requires nutrition and exercise and environment. There's so many things to lower your risk, or when it's like a divorce, right? You're the one who decided to get married, right? But so now we're just trying to deal with the overcoming of that. I went through a divorce, and you think you went through one. It's a death. Right? It's a very difficult thing, but you have to do an after action report and say, well, why did this happen in my body? Don't worry about the disease name. That doesn't matter right now. What do we do to shore up your body's capacity to heal? Because that's what we're going to need to do whatever we do, whether it be nutrients, coffee enemas, meditation, juicing, apricot pits. There's all kinds of tools. Or do we need certain pharmaceuticals? Okay, because when you're cancer in particular, the biggest problem is not the cancer; it's dealing with the dead cancer cells that are killed off. Those things are a big part of the problem. So I wish it was simple. I speak a lot, but I also listen a lot when I'm working with patients, because I want them to realize they're a category of one. You've got to have data. I understand the confusion. I wish it was simple and easy, but it's not. Building a business isn't, having a healthful marriage, being a parent, all those things have their challenges, right? And your body is the same way when it comes to getting well. And I tell people, I know it's difficult when you don't know who to believe, and people will say things and they're very passionate about it, but listen to what they say and then substantiate the claim or not. See, I'm not making claims on certain things because it's very contextual. It's extremely contextual, And so at the end of the day, it comes down to there's a lot of people out there. The vast majority of the info space is noise. It's people that are making a marketing shtick. And this is why they have to say things like lectins are bad or the genes tell me what nutrients you're deficient in. That is preposterous. It's not true at all. Like the workup that I've assembled that I work with my patients to get them started at first, it's a urine and blood collection. We look at a lot of things. We take a look at your carbohydrate metabolism. We look at we sequence all your how much plasma amino acids or urine amino acids that you have. We look at minerals. We look at all the B vitamins. We look at the oxidative stress markers, the inflammation markers. We take a look at the mitochondria, every mitochondrial metabolite of all the cylinders of that engine, and then we know if one of those markers is elevated or insufficient or deficient, what nutrients govern that. So then we go, okay, now we can make a strategy of what foods you should consume and what supplements to help that. And then we retest. And then what you do is you go, okay, continue with the diet. Or, I've shifted people from vegan to keto, from keto to vegan. It doesn't matter. I don't care what the context is. It's what the data shows the body needs at that time.
Can you imagine being a vegan and then finding out, dude, you got to eat meat instead?
I have a patient who that's why him and his wife had a hard time conceiving. And in their 40s, they were told they couldn't do it. High risk pregnancy. Well, guess what? They have a young boy now. I mean,
but that would be good news.
Oh, for sure.
If I'm a vegan and you tell me I got to eat steak, oh, bummer.
Well, not always, because there's more to those dietary constructs than just that. Because I've seen people who were vegan and then they became carnivore and it changed their life and their health came back. They look fan-freaking-tastic. I've seen the opposite. I've seen people that have, that left eating any meat and they went vegan. They can tell the exact same story, Brad. They can say the exact same thing. So I
know, and I hear it. And it's like, that's why you get confused, which is why.
Stop living other people's lives. Live yours and get data and make decisions based upon that data. Functional markers that are clear and present for you right now.
Well, if I were listening to this whole conversation as a listener, because obviously I have been.
Yeah.
I would be thinking, so I understand that and I agree with it, but how? Yeah. So is it reach out to Balance Protocol and you have some sort of test?
I'm here to let people know that it's available to people. I have a whole team of physicians.
It starts with piss and blood.
Well, we start with data, right? We want a Q-score and score. So so I have
how many tests could you do? Because when Gary was on here, the podcast dropped and literally I got bombarded with listeners saying, it's been 6 months. I haven't got my test. And they weren't ready for the response. And dude, listen, the Bomb Squad, it's filled with people that are, I think wanting better, wanting more health, more money, more love, more joy, more happiness. That's why they're listening. They're wanting to find people who had an issue that maybe they identify with, and everyone identifies with some sort of health issue. Right. Even ripped dudes. I've seen a dude, he's got a 6-pack. He looks amazing, but that dude's not healthy. He says he's got chronic pain and see it all the time. This and that. And I'm like, well, dude, you might look like a movie star with your body, but in reality, it's unhealthy.
Yeah. So I have a 4-pack and I have a dad bod. I'll be 53 here in a few months. And the thing is, I've seen that in so many patients.
But if you weren't yourself and you went and did these tests, would the study come back and be like, dude, you're fucking flawless?
No. There's always things that can do better, but that's the starting point. I don't want people to think that it's the end all to begin all. It's a starting point. That's why I call it Balance Protocol GPS. Get protocol started. It's the starting point. Don't try to go, like when I tell you, listen, I don't eat carnivore, but yes, there are countless people who don't touch any plants and they're thriving. I cannot deny that. I can say the same thing for people that don't touch a single animal product. But in my 3 decades, I have found that those have their limited time and scope. There will come a time and a context, well, that will no longer be the case. So stay the course, do what you want, but never forget my name or balanced protocol. And when the time comes for you to seek, a mentor, someone to listen to you, a physician staff that has ridiculous skin in the game, then come see me. Okay, because I'm not a salesperson. I'm a clinician. Okay, there are people who have PhDs at the end of their names. They've never seen a patient in their life. They're not clinicians. They're better looking than me. They're probably smarter than me, more wealthier than me. Okay, great. Okay, and they're cooler. There's some other podcasts I don't want to name, but I have people in mind right now. But I don't try to name drop. But the thing is that they're looking at studies, and I say they're not showing you if qualified in the study. When you look at studies, those are selected, stacked groups of people to get the clinical outcome that they wanted. Okay, that if you want a conspiracy, how about that one? Okay, well, there's a study, it looked at 37, men from ages 24 to 35, non-smokers. Okay, great, but how much did they sleep? How much community did they have? Were they in a committed relationship? Did they hug for 20 seconds, kiss for 6? Did they have kids, right? Did they meditate? Did they manifest? Did they pray? I mean, there's so much more that's not in the studies. And where were they? Oh, they were in Sweden. Okay, well, if you pick the same, and a lot of the people in these studies too, they're college kids or indigents. You got to understand, there's a dirty part of the business if we really want to drop some bombs. So if we look at studies, but then there's these PhDs that look at studies and they go, well, studies show that this was linked to. See, they never says cause. Do you know that? Okay, they're going to say linked to, showed a percentage of risk associated with, or these very interesting terms. And then they tell you, therefore, you should do this or do that, or don't do this or don't do that. And I'm going, absolutely. But would you have met the inclusionary or exclusionary criteria of that study? Would you have been selected or you have been ejected? So you can't apply it to you. Those are great to help us steer. I love science, dude. There's hundreds of thousands of studies a year. We can't consume it all.
So what you're saying is what I've thought all along. Doctors don't know what the fuck they're doing.
That's amen. We don't. How about that? See, it's not the IKEAs. I don't have to know everything, but I have a way to know. I have a framework that you can navigate and you can find out for yourself and make, bold corrective actions and then go there and then course correct. So just like what you do with people with business. And entrepreneurs, we're the worst. We drive. We live for the high of the close. We live for the high of the expansion of the business. I get it. But at the cost of what? You can't take any of it with you. 100 years from now,
your family hates you. There's always something.
Some stranger's going to be living in your house or sleeping in your bed 100 years from now, and people aren't going to remember you. So live life to its fullest now. Remember, health is only the slowest form of death that you allow. That's what I want to do. Decrease risk of disease, increase risk of health, give you that educational stuff, show you how you can find out for yourself. It's not simple. I wish it was. Simple sells. What's the one problem? And then create a solution for that. Right? Sound familiar? I'm sorry, I can't do that. That's why I'm not out there. You don't see me in all these summits. That's a big cabal. They're all in on it, Brad. They all are. They invited me in. And I said, I'm not doing that. That's low integrity. I'm not going to be a golden hippo. I'm not going to get involved in these mind shares. And I did too, right? 50,000 for this mastermind, 35 for this one. Learn LinkedIn, learn Facebook ads. But you don't just drop ads on Facebook and go. You got to constantly tweak it. But we don't do that for our health. They go, oh, no, I'm just going to get this light and stick it up my nose. Oh, I'm just going to sign, sunshine on my booty hole. Right?
Drink my pee.
I'm going to drink my pee. Oh, my God. But then there's people that are passionate about it. I'm passionate.
So you don't drink pee?
Oh, my God, no. I know the thousands of metabolites that are in that. There's no way that I'm recycling those through my gut. Now, can you handle it? Are there reports of people that do it? Yes, I'm not denying that. But you know what? I don't know. We have to sometimes compare things. I mean, what do we do before pee? What about all the people who don't drink their pee? I don't drink my pee. Have I? Yep. Back in the day. Okay. Listen, I do a lot of work with the military special forces, right? That's my pro bono. Okay. And when you're dealing with Rangers and, dev group dudes, the Delta guys, yep, they're crazy. Okay. And they talk about, peeing your helmet and, and drinking it for rehydration. I said, don't do that. Okay. I mean, I've been at Best Ranger. I've helped them. And in the time that I was there with how I help people hydrate, I have a commendation from the flight surgeon at Benning saying we've never had anybody in a season ever not drop out at Best Ranger competition when they followed what I gave them. That's a fact. I got the receipts. Okay, so there you have it. So
will you manufacture your own electrolytes?
I do, yeah. But again, not everybody has to have it. I'm bad for business, Brad. I mean, the thing is, I'd love to have everybody just buy everything that I do. But no, you don't do it. I don't have to take them every day either.
I know, like these Helion products. You're like, hey, if you take that, after a couple months, you'll be replete.
Yeah.
And then you don't need it.
So yes, I have.
And I'm like,
products.
that's not very good business. And you're like,
oh, sorry, hey. It's called integrity. I'd love for people to just buy my stuff all the time and forever, but no, you don't have to.
So let's talk about these Helion products.
All right, let's do that.
Mag 3X. Yeah, that's magnesium.
I think the market has been educated on magnesium and all its benefits. Some people say
not really.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, when you say the market, because again, you come.
I watch everybody.
That's the thing,
so.
but you come from the space. Like there's people there's people that you could talk about magnesium right now, and they'd be like, no shit, and they'd run out and get magnesium.
Yeah. See, I forget that. That's the clinician in me. I live it.
Yeah, I didn't know. I just discovered magnesium not too long ago, and I've never taken magnesium. Now, again, I eat food. I'm sure I've had magnesium, but I didn't know that there was supplementation. There was deficiency. D3. Yep. There was deficiency of D3.
Yeah.
I started taking D3. Well, I didn't know I had a deficiency in D3. Well, what told me? Some blood test.
Well, let's use that as an example because those go together. This is a perfect example, okay? So, and I'll rapid fire this. So the thing is, yes, everybody's D3 crazy right now. Yep, it's a fantastic nutrient, okay? The body manufactures it cellularly when the body's exposed to UVB radiation, okay? See, divinely built to do it. We can do it. We don't need to take it as a supplement.
Sun on your nutsack.
Well, anywhere. It doesn't even have to be on your nutsack.
Okay. But that's supposedly the most concentrated absorbent.
See, but that sells because we're saying nutsack.
But you would think
I don't shine it on my. Well, I take that back. I would be lying. I live in Florida.
Okay, red light therapy.
Well, hold on a second. 1 second. So yes, that's another spectrum. So UV light is fantastic. No, it doesn't cause cancer. Excessive exposure to UVA and or B to unprotected skin can contribute to increased risk. See how I did that? That's the truth. Okay. I don't have skin cancer, but I get sunshine. Okay. So I don't have flawless skin. Why? Because I want to get in some sunshine. Okay. But I don't look like, what was that guy back in the day, that famous actor who always looked brown as the day is long?
George Hamilton.
That's it. Okay. So the thing about it is yes, D3, it's every cell of the body needs it. There's receptor sites everywhere. That doesn't mean you should justify popping pills down your throat. Well, first and foremost, have the UV light way that God and nature made it. Because when you get UV exposure, you're not just getting, the vitamin D3, the 7-dehydro. What you're doing is you're getting all kinds of other solaric hormones. See, that's the context. Just like over in Italy, it's not just the glyphosate, it's all the other fun things that you're doing. So when you get sunshine on you, just enough to get what we call minimal erythemic dose, get your med, right? A little bit of pink, and then get in. Okay? Unprotected. Then your body's going to make plenty. Get it where the sun doesn't shine. If you have brown, it's blocking it. Okay? The melanin is preventing the production of it. So you got to get it where the sun don't shine. So yes, can you directly put it on testicles and have an effect to that localized tissue? Yes, that is correct. I don't do it.
Well, probably because of what you just said.
Huh?
It's probably because of what you just said.
Yeah.
So you just said when you tan, it blocks it. So a tan is your body going enough.
That's right.
And then the balls, they don't ever get any sun usually.
You got it.
So it's like that's why it's so concentrated.
Systemic front or systemic back. In other words, you can put on your abdomen, your thighs, or whatever, couple of places. If you take a look at Hollick's work, who's the famous guy in vitamin D, they took a look at ducks and animals and stuff with hair and feathers on them, and they just had little spots exposed between them, like on their head, and that was enough for them to create enough vitamin D for the body. So a little goes a long way. But here's the thing. So vitamin D is a prohormone. Okay, and we in the United States, we measure it in nanograms. Okay, so per mil. So nanograms are 1,000th of a milligram. So that's how small the amount is. But see, but then people say, well, we tested my vitamin D levels. We did blood work, Q square, M square, and I was told I was deficient in vitamin D. And I go, what was your level? And they said, well, it was 40. And they say it needs to be 50 to 60 to 70. That's not what the literature says. Okay, the summary of it, the peer-reviewed meta-analysis of the randomized controlled trials. The sweet spot is 30 to 35 nanograms. That's the sweet spot. Only in certain cases did more than that have an applicability, biochemical individuality. Others, it can be even lower than that. There's some that show 25, 21 is fine. If you start getting down low there, you get some issues. But see, what that number is, that's the storage form of vitamin D. That's not the active form. Your body takes that and converts it to use it. And you know what? It doesn't do it with methylation, by the way. That's another misstatement by a previously mentioned individual. It doesn't do it with methylation. So the thing is 1,25 OH, vitamin D, is the active form, and it's measured in picograms. That's 1,000th of the previous storage form. So it's parts per billion. And that can be high. So you can go and get your 25 hydroxy storage form vitamin D. People are testing it now. A lot of mainstream doctors are going, okay, well, no, you're at 20, you're deficient. Well, that's not necessarily true. Some people say, oh, you're at 60.
Well, how do you know?
You have to look at more of the context of a greater clinical workup. See, people want that simple thing.
Then you would be the busiest dude on planet Earth because everybody comes to you.
That's what happens.
I know, but everybody comes to you.
Again, don't believe me, Brad. And I don't want your listeners to believe me. I want you to go and look.
Well, I know, but
take the time. If you truly want to know, seek and ye shall find.
What I want to know is, am I healthy? And if the answer is no,
okay,
well then, isn't that just?
See, I don't know what
is healthy?
Bingo.
Well, to me, that's where I went back in the beginning. To me, healthy is the result. How do I feel?
Yep.
I feel fucking phenomenal, but I'll tell you, but I felt phenomenal fat.
Okay, great. Then you were then too. I know guys that are healthy as hell, and because there's fit fat. Okay, look at longevity.
Well, there's just if you feel great,
yep,
then you should be good.
But listen, that's great, and that's a marker. Okay. But listen.
Because I think your body's going to tell you, man.
Well, it can be.
I have a stomach ache.
Yep.
I don't feel energy. I got headaches. All the problems of something's wrong, which means, hey, we checked your D3. It's not that. But he has a fucking headache. Maybe he is high in D3 and that's causing headaches, where the doctors will say, I know, but the doctors would say no, because studies have shown. Studies of what? These two dorks that was funded by that dork that wanted to sell D3. Like, truthfully, because that's what I'm getting to. Truthfully, how do we know what's what? Or it's impossible because everybody's different.
Yep, that's what it is. You can look at a business and see the parking lot full. Okay? Does that mean they're profitable? No. And everybody can come to work and then everything, and the next thing you know, they close the doors and they didn't even tell the employees and it's gone. So you still got to quantify. You have to audit. You have to look into it. So at the end of the day,
yeah, but there's markers. Like, again, if a company's making $100 million, but they're netting negative $80, they're not going to be in business that long.
You can make $1 billion, but if you spend $1 billion in one, that's it.
Yeah, but there's markers though. There are ways to tell,
and not just one marker. And I can share this story. Okay, so one of my patients, he's kind of a famous guy. He was a Navy SEAL. His name is Mike Day. Okay, he wrote a book called Perfectly Wounded. Okay, Mike came to me through US SOCOM Care Coalition because they couldn't fix Mike. So they came to me and Mike, and then, of course, long story short, I worked with him and his wife, Brenda, at the time, Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I went to school at Old Dominion University, so I grew up in Virginia Beach. So and I used to go to Little Creek and stuff like that. I got a lot of fun stories, but we can tell that off camera. But at the end of the day, when Mike came to me, he had spent a lot of time over across seas, in theater. And so the thing about it is he was still vitamin D deficient. Okay. But he also had a whole lot of other problems because he got shot 27 times, and blown up by a grenade. He lived to tell the tale, and he smoked all those fools. It's a fantastic story. And Mike talks about me in his book, and it's tough when a guy like that says, this is awesome. I saved his life. He's an amazing man. Of course, he's no longer with us, because he decided to take his life, some months ago. But the story is, so I still care for his family, for his ex-wife, Brenda, and his daughters and stuff like that, her daughter. And so Brenda came to me and said, hey, Dr. Beck, I don't want to bother you, but I am wrecked. I'm on the brink of death. I was like, what are you talking about? Girl, call me. So she calls me. And she goes, and I started getting into her story. What happened? Some doctor told her that she was vitamin D deficient and started putting her on 50,000 IU doses of vitamin D. And then he was like, well, you're having some issues because you can associate it with that, or start drop it down to 10,000. It almost destroyed her health. And that was the only variable that had changed. And I said, girl, well, did he take a look at your active form? No. What was that? So we did that, and it was 3 times the amount it should have been. It's immunosuppressive. Vitamin D3 is great for the immune system, but guess what? When the body overly converts it, It actually is immunosuppressive, which is why some people will say, I took vitamin D3 and my immune system got better. My autoimmune disease got better. So they felt better, Brad. They felt they were healthier. But guess what? They're a ticking time bomb. Because then now, if you go too long, and I'm not fear mongering, I don't deal in fear. I help people get their freedom back. I want them to have happy lives and stop all the pills, potions, and powders, even ones that I sell for crying out loud. I want you to be able to have fun, have a controlled burn. You can eat 10, 15, 20% ultra processed food and you do all the rest right, you'll live and be glorious. I'm lovely and delicious. I don't have any problems and I eat everything. But I don't take all those pills. I don't do it. Even, I take what I take. They're just one of them. But my point is with her story is we turned it around real quickly because she missed that part. But I didn't, and she was so mad at the doc. Well, I'm going to go. I said, no, stop. They don't know. Forgive them they know not what they do. Maybe educate them, give them some things and whatever, but don't be mad. They don't know. They're a byproduct of their environment and what they're told. So that's what you have to realize is that that's where the prowess comes from. If somebody wants to come and learn what you do. I saw some podcast one time where some guy was talking to you about your stint in the car industry and stuff like that. Well, back in the late 90s, after I was already a doc and I had a practice, that's what happened to me. One of my other partners, I lost my practice, okay? Right when my first daughter was born. And to make ends meet, I went into the car business too, right? So the thing is I learned a different industry, which was a different thing. The reason why I share that story with is that just because you're not some communication degree person, whatever, things like that, doesn't mean you can't teach people what you teach them. The truth is the truth, no matter where it comes from. And I understand the noise and confusion out there makes it difficult for people to know what the truth is, but the truth it lies in your effort to find it. And don't believe people. Okay? You have to put in the time. So on the D3 thing, this is why people say, you got to in the pocket. You got to take K2. Not when you get sunshine. The reason why you have to take K2 when you're taking the D pills, and that's a fun thing. Are you down for the D? You want to take some D pills? See, that sells. That's kind of sexy. Boost your testosterone. Take some zinc, some vitamin D, raise your testosterone. Well, who says you need to do that? So, yes, that's to prevent the damage that dosing on the D does. So that is correct. But you should take a look at active. You should take a look at storage. You should look at there's more factors to it too to make that decision. But you know what would solve it all? Getting in the sunshine. And if you can't get in sunshine, buy a UV lamp. They're a couple $100. 3 to 4 minutes on your back of your tummy twice a week. You're golden. And you'll have, it's delicious.
And you never have to take a D3 supplement.
Nope. And I've proven that clinically time and time again.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. Number one, I'm going to take the tests.
Yep.
And then I'm going to sign up for your GPS. And I'm going to go through it.
Yep. Be the guinea pig.
And I know you're going to get a ton of people that are obviously
I love it.
In agreement with you.
Yeah.
They're probably going to go do the same thing. And then we're going to have you back.
That would be fabulous.
How long is it going to be before you're back? How long will it take me to get through some of this so we can talk more intelligently? Or I should say, because I know you can.
Exactly. So the program, and price-wise, I can tell you, it's less than $3,000. All in. It's unbelievable. It also includes, of course, a platinum membership to my community, balanceprotocol.me, where you can come in there and I can answer any and all things without any oversight, any filtered, nothing. I mean, I'm talking about I built that community so that way, because I got ghosted so many times. I've been Facebook jail. I've been banned. I've been, it's incredible because they suppress certain things we talk on there. I can talk about anything.
Because you're hurting sales.
That's fine. Yeah.
If you tell the truth, like, hey, do get a UV light. You don't need D3. D3 manufacturers will be like, shut him up.
Yep. Well, I want to make sure that people are empowered to not need me. I want to teach them the framework that they can apply. Balance protocol, you can own it. In that you'll now know how to do what the framework is. You'll learn what Q squared M squared means. What category of one and context cubed. All these little things I say because I want to teach you ways where you can take ownership of your life and correct it. So I have a platform where you can learn and do that kind of stuff and ask me and my team questions. When I say my team, I have other docs that work for and with me. These are MDs, PhDs, DOs, DCs. These are not shabby people. And they're amazing background. And we work with them and we do amazing stuff to transform lives. And I haven't been real public about it because I haven't been working on getting famous and expanding my reach. And I love how you teach people influence, right? Because it does matter. But my influence in my calling comes in a different way. And so I am come a little bit more mainstream now. We have a team to be able to handle it and care for things. Because I tell people, just like you mentioned, I tell people, you got to raise your standard and demand greater levels and quality of care from people that work for you. Just because you have a lab coat and stethoscope doesn't mean you're the boss. You can hire and fire any one of them. Now, if you expect somebody else to pay your bill, insurance premium, stuff like that, they get to make the rules, but set yourself free. Right? And learn something to where you don't need them. There's a lot of preventative stuff. You got to cut through all the dogma and find out what works right for you. But just feeling good doesn't make it enough. It doesn't. You have to quantify. Don't think that you have a lot of business in the restaurant that people are happy. Don't think that you have a ton of money coming in that you're profitable. Right? Listen.
We're going to find out if I'm healthy.
We are. It's going to be amazing. And I'll tell you one thing.
And I better be, or I'm fucking pissed.
Well, here's the thing. So you got to learn some stuff. You got to put in some time. But I work with guys like you who won't make the decision to put in the mind time to watch. Because I've done courses for a long time. When you go to balanceprotocol.me and you sign up just even for free, if anybody, well, let's go see what this guy's shtick is. Okay, great. Doesn't cost you a dime. Go there, enroll there. You get what's called my Prime course. It's 3 modules, and it gives you what's my shtick. Okay? Take you about 3 hours of listening to this guy. And then now you'll know what Balance Protocol is, what it means, and if you want to progress for. Or if there's some people like, no, I totally get that. That resonates with me. I want to get some quantification. You can go to balanceprotocol.com, and there's some options in there, and you can enroll. And my team, it's all automated, and we'll take care of you. The results, how this works is there's 2 kits there's 2 methods you can come. There's a simplified version. There's a premium version. We also want to take a look at the gut. You asked me about the microbiome. We DNA sequence your microbiome, but we also screen for the, your early bowel disease screening. There's home kits that you can get, Cologuard and stuff like that. That marker's included in there. There's a lot of things that we look at to see what the GI health is, because that is important, okay? But not all wellness ends and begins in the gut. That's a fallacy too. There's a lot of diseases that do not start in the gut, and are not, there's a later component, but there's all kinds of adages. But we do look at that up front, okay? So you got to collect your poop. You got to collect some pee. You got to prick your finger, do a little bit of blood. So it's all comfortable at home. This is a minimum starting point. I'm not taking a look at your hormones or your thyroid or your lipid panel, your CBC and your differential and your Kim 14. I'm not looking at all that stuff. Those are great. Okay. We do that later if you want. But this gives you actionable data to assess your system, your company, your most valuable possession. And then we give you corrective action. We can tell you what diet you should be eating, how many carbs, fats, or proteins you should have.
Have you ever saw someone with that they were fine?
Oh yeah, all the time. And they come to me.
That's what I want to know. I want to know, am I fine?
You might be.
What if I am?
Well, then, I wish you the best.
Well, I thought that'd be. I thought that'd be rare, but
it's few and far between. I mean, it's one of those kind of things. But see, I love people being on cruise control. And just again, what comes to mind. Another one of my patients, Andrew Marr. He's been on Joe Rogan 3 times, and he talked about his story where he was blown up. How can stuff? There's another great documentary. I like to plug them. Quiet Explosions. But when he came to me, same kind of thing. He was messed up. Right? And we transformed his life so much so he named one of his sons after me. Okay?
Wow.
Now, we just check in from time to time. He's on cruise control. He applies it. He's living life in balance, as we say. Fantastic. Okay? There's tons of stories like that. These people have just flourished my life. See, I'm successful. What's success? That's another clumsy tool. I'm so successful, it's ridiculous. I'm not as wealthy or as good looking as you, okay? But my wife is amazing. I have beautiful daughters. I love the daddy business. I have rich people problems. Okay, but here's the thing. Here's what other entrepreneurs and people way wealthier than me have ever said. Okay, they didn't have any problems, but the day they had a problem, they only had one problem. So you can't just go on, do you feel good? Because I'm telling you, cancer doesn't happen overnight. It takes years to develop. Cardiovascular disease, same thing. So you can't just say cholesterol is good or bad. It's risk factors, okay? And yes, it contributes to it. Remember, I'm that kid in between 2 divorced parents. I get the confusion, but it's not so simple. But you can take simple steps at the beginning. Of course, that's the problem that I solve. That's what Balanced Protocol does, is it gives you a starting point to close all that off for a second, get some data, and then make decisions from there. And once you do that, then we can do that. Do we have continuity programs and other, consultings and stuff? Well, of course. Okay, because you just don't want to try it for 30 days. When has that ever done anything? You don't have trial marriages for 30 days. You got to put in a year.
You got to start.
Yep, but you got to start. Okay, and that's what I do. And I have so much fun doing it because I know that it is a repeatable system that people can learn and approach and just change their life. But again, the patient has to be willing to do it.
Well, I'm willing to do it. I got to hear what I'm willing to do after that, but I'm willing to go to balanceprotocol.com.
We get the results back in about 3 weeks, right? Then you make corrective stuff. We stay with you for about 60 to 90 days. And then, but that's just to kind of help you out. But we'll have the results. Hell, I'll come back and do them live and direct for you. I'll come back in 6 weeks if you want. I could.
There you have it. 6 weeks.
It's a date,
folks. Stay tuned. Part 2's coming up. Appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate you, Brad.
Folks, go follow this dude, if nothing else, at Balance Protocol. And if you're smart, again, and with means and interest, I would go sign up for the free thing, even without means. But I would go hit to balancedprotocol.com and get started. Because again, I mean, at the end of the day, taking action is what's going to save your life. It's not going to necessarily be this or that. It's going to be the fact that you heard something, you pulled the trigger, and you'll be a story in the future. And I'll see you in 6 weeks. Till next time, folks, keep it real.